This is the video I have been avoiding for the past month. Hey, my name is Iris, if you don't already know me. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Today I'm doing a video on Alivia D'Andrea and the ways in which she's both a victim to and has perpetuated toxic diet and fitness culture online. And I'm also going to be talking about like the conditions under which this kind of content is super popular with young female audiences and how the fitness industry and the diet industry has an inherent hand and a monetary interest in perpetuating body shaming and fat phobia. I'm going to start this video with a little trigger warning. If you have an ED or if you've struggled with body issues in some way, this might be kind of hard to watch. I've tried not to include anything triggering, but I never know what's going to trigger somebody else. So I just want to put that out there. And this video is probably going to be a pretty long one, so I'm going to have timestamps in the description if you want to see what the different sections are. So enjoy. First, we need to start with understanding what the heck a glow up is. A glow up can be defined in different ways depending on who you talk to and the context, but the general understanding is that it is tied to physical appearance. Urban Dictionary defines the glow up as a mental, physical, and an emotional transformation for the better. Glow ups can be both natural or planned, as well as gradual and permanent or fast and temporary. An example of a natural glow up would be puberty, during which your body and your mind undergo massive changes. And an example of a planned glow up would be doing things to your physical appearance to alter it in some way deemed as better or different. 24-hour glow up videos became pretty popular on YouTube the past couple years with just popular lifestyle and beauty YouTubers doing this, and that trend has not ceased in any matter. These are still super popular and they are still being uploaded every day. Intro, Alivia D'Andrea's massively popular YouTube series titled The Glow Up Diaries. She released her first episode of The Glow Up Diaries in October of 2018 titled How to Glow Up. She then proceeded to release 16 episodes in this first season of The Glow Up Diaries, with the final one premiering in July of 2020. And at the time of me filming this, I think she has 2.1 million subscribers. And she has just started to release her second season of the series. The videos take the format of a documentary vlog, and she narrates them with sort of a motivational tone, which I'm going to be talking a little bit more about. What's really important about the series, and I think what keeps a lot of people really engaged when they're watching, is the fact that Alivia actually films many episodes in advance. So she's able to piece together a season with a big picture in mind. This really sets her apart from other creators on the platform because I don't think there's really anybody else doing something like that. And I think a lot of her success can be attributed not only to the topic, which is kind of bound to be successful in a culture that praises appearance-based physical fitness, but it is also a testament to her skill as a filmmaker. She knows what she's doing when she's making the series and when she's making her episodes. But while she presents her online diary as a motivational series, it is undeniable that there are quite a few issues with the series, including the fact that it is based from within a fat-phobic mindset and standpoint, which only really changes at all in the second season. 14 to 18-year-old girls who are trying to lose weight are going to take that as gospel. In the second season, she talks about her shift from being a weak-minded to a strong-minded person. And her change in the second season manifests physically because weak-minded people can't get through a workout, and weak-minded people can't battle their food addiction, but strong-minded people can push through it. Strong-minded people aren't going to give up in the face of adversity. I want to pop in here with a commenter's take on her willpower approach when it comes to her weight loss. Disordered eating is still a serious problem, and I'm happy that you feel better with the changes you've made, but I truly think that the way you speak about how you fix your behavior can be harmful, i.e. that you had a low tolerance for hunger and just needed to gain some self-control. Binging is more often than not a reaction to dieting. It's your body trying to save itself from starvation, and is a perfectly reasonable reaction to getting too little food, not a sign of you lacking self-discipline. I'm going to say that this video isn't really a criticism of Alivia and her struggles. In fact, I actually have an entire section dedicated to her defense, but I do want to pick out some of the things that are related to toxic diet and fitness culture and are present in her videos and are perpetuated by her videos. Because in using her as an example, because she's one of the big people in this space, we're able to see how just one girl's story can impact millions of people. I'm going to touch briefly on the first season of the Glow Up Diaries. Olivia's talked about the fact that she failed to achieve her weight loss goals in the first season. She fixated super heavily on calories, and since then she's actually reflected on that and talked about how that was problematic for her. So my analysis is really talking only about the second season here, because it would honestly be way too much to go into everything with the first season because there was a lot happening there. What I can say is that if you struggle with an ED, you probably will be triggered by the first season of the Glow Up Diaries, so I really do not recommend watching it. Season 2 starts out with an episode titled How Food Addiction Ruined My Life. I honestly think that this episode is really insightful about what it's like to be someone dealing with a food addiction. I've never dealt with that before, but it's her telling her story about what that was like for her. It's also really triggering, which she has since apologized for in some community posts, so I'm not going to call her out for that. She knows. A lot of people called her out for this already. Also, as of me filming this video, she's released 4 episodes of season 2. I wrote most of the script when only 2 episodes were out and then updated it with a 3rd episode, and the 4th episode really didn't require much updates. So full disclosure, that's kind of what's been happening with the script. So these are the issues with season 2 that I've noticed and her audience has noticed so far. One issue that a lot of people are noticing and is particularly apparent in the 2nd season is how her parents and her sister talk to her in order to motivate her to lose weight.
I'm a walking joke.
Babe, I'll carry that in.
Not bad
Babe?
looking.
Yeah,
You
you're
just need
not.
to dress up a little.
You have so
I
much
tried.
potential, but you just cover that potential with oily hair, glasses, and a body.
I'm not trying to put her sister on blast here, and I think it's clear that she's kind of at a loss of words for what to say in response to Olivia being self-deprecating in this way. But it's also likely that she learned that this kind of behavior is okay and acceptable from her parents, who are shown many times throughout the series either shaming Olivia for her choices or blatantly fat shaming her.
I don't even want to FaceTime people.
Yeah, that is a very, very selfish thing. God gives you life and opportunities, and you've been giving more opportunities than many, and yet you just want to go hide under a rock.
And you don't really need more context than that to see how her familial environment has contributed to Olivia's self-image, because fat shaming is ever present. Olivia herself actually addressed this because so many people were worried, honestly, about the way that her parents and her sister were talking to her. And she said that she asked her parents to be blunt and to take a tough love approach to helping her lose weight. I think this commenter says it best in terms of my point of view about this kind of approach. I know that most people think tough love is a legitimate and reasonable way of labeling this behavior. Sure, let's go with that, but to what end? Are we supposed to accept that those who claim to love us have the right to say hurtful and so-called honest things as a mean of showing love? Their comments had nothing to do with her health, but rather to do with their own anxiety about their daughter not being desirable. All their comments were about what she looked like and not how she felt. If your relationship to food and decisions on whether or not to eat this or that is based on whether or not it will make you fat, you're already headed down a toxic path. Love should not be about shaming someone into looking the way you want them to. If this tough love is what you or Olivia want, okay, that's your prerogative. But I also think it's a dangerous rhetoric to peddle to such a young audience. If what motivates you is having those you love and who claim to love you shame you into your goal appearance, so be it, but don't lie and call it tough love. That's on her first episode of season 2. And I think another important note here is that it's not just Olivia hearing those comments from her parents. Because of her platform and because her videos are shared publicly to millions of people, it's every viewer hearing that comment. And this kind of language could reinforce insecurity in the viewer. If anything, this first episode of the season is kind of giving fat shaming works vibes. And her videos absolutely contribute to a toxic diet space. She, like many others, is both a victim of that space and is actively contributing to it in documenting her efforts to lose weight and quote unquote glow up. Here's another comment from the first episode. This needs a massive trigger warning. Probably not her intention, but the hatred towards her body by herself and family is really stressful to witness. Also, this feels like a diet mindset blanketed by motivational smog. It may not be the kindest way to say it, but I think this describes Alivia's series pretty well. Her guise is motivation, and in many ways she's getting confirmation from her audience that she is in fact helping them and motivating them. And I don't want to discredit that. That could be true for some people, but on a deeper level, I bet that a lot of these same viewers don't realize that she is in fact reinforcing the idea that in order to be happy and in order to be attractive, you need to be skinny. And what she's really motivating them to do is to orient self-worth in the context of what society deems to be beautiful. Because her mental and emotional glow up is so heavily tied in the series to her change in physical appearance. She also includes a clip from the first season in which she's having a finals week snack with her friend and comparing their meals and how healthy they are, which I find to be very toxic behavior that likely comes from a place of insecurity about her own food choices, leading her to also criticize her friend's choice and bring both of them down. And I think this is a really good example of how toxic diet culture pervades in the real world between young women. Based on what you see, you're gonna think different, and when you think different, you're gonna say different shit to the people you know in your real life. All right, let's talk about the second episode, which this is, it's not cute. This is titled How I Lost 32 Pounds of Fat and 10 Inches Off My Waist. She's blunt. Title like that, it's weight loss. So this is the episode in which Alivia talks about her struggles in the first season and how she was really more focused on calories and weight loss rather than physical fitness. And I think what we need to separate here is that physical fitness is not always going to be tied to being skinny. You can be chubby and be really physically fit. There's a lot of fan criticism on specifically episode 2 for being like an ad because she talks to a professional consultant, which I kind of don't really see. It just seems like Alivia sharing what's worked for her, and what worked for her was a personal trainer. And that personal trainer helped her lift her out of the pit of despair that she was in with her food addiction. And she actually introduces some science in here talking about insulin briefly. But let's talk about the title, How I Lost 32 Pounds of Fat and 10 Inches Off My Waist. So this is a title that benefits from fatphobia because this title labels fat as the thing that you want to get rid of. It's toxic. It's a toxic title. I bet the title's really successful because in a toxic space, the toxic content gets the views, but yeah. That's a gross title. Because she says that her problem in season 1 was that she was focused on weight loss. And in episode 3, she talks about her actual change in mentality and how her resulting weight loss was a result of her change in mentality of pushing through the workout and her asking the question to herself, who do I want to be? In this episode, she actually does mention an article that I will share more from in a moment that talks about how insecurities are exploited for profit. So it seems like Alivia is a little bit aware of what's going on in the whole ass world around us, but maybe not aware of how she herself is actively contributing to it in these videos. And even if the goal of the series is to encourage you to get up and try again when you fail, no matter what it is, this story cannot be separated from weight loss because that was her goal to begin with, and that was her end result. Now that I've talked about the issues with the second season, I want to take a moment to maybe defend Alivia. I think it's really important when it comes to critiquing online content, especially when it comes to a specific person's experience, is to try to understand why. Why did she feel compelled to lose weight? What is her perspective? And what contributes to her mindset? Alivia does not exist in a vacuum. I've talked about fitness culture before on my channel in my video about the Chloe Ting 2-week challenge. A basic overview is that I did the challenge with the intention of making a video showing my results, and then I realized that making that video would in fact contribute to the toxic fitness space online, which is not something that I can comfortably do. YouTube knows and suggests videos based on your watching habits and on your demographic. I've gone through phases of watching fitness content and avoiding it altogether, and even when I'm avoiding it, I am still suggested explicit weight loss content. And I can't help but wonder if this is because I'm categorized as an 18 to 24-year-old female on YouTube. And these videos are particularly popular with that age group, and unfortunately with an even younger age group. One really impressive young YouTuber who I've seen fallen prey to this content and to creating this kind of content is Annie Long, who literally just started her freshman year of high school and is making fitness content. Alivia started filming the Glow Up Diaries when she was just 16, trying to lose a little weight. And in being kind to her, we are being kind to anyone who has fallen prey or been shamed by fitness culture and beauty standards into thinking that they are not beautiful. And so Alivia, I seriously doubt that you're watching this, but if you are, know that I, for one, do not blame you for what you have gone through or what you still may be going through. Beauty and physical appearance standards are fucking toxic, and especially fucking toxic to young women. And no one deserves to go through this, but here we all are, and we have to make sense of it in some way. And so Alivia tried to make sense of it in her series, which is really a public diary. And the story she tells is to never give up in the face of adversity, which is honestly super good advice. So when someone has been so vulnerable with their own personal struggles online, should we and how can we keep them accountable for unknowingly perpetuating the conditions in which diet and fitness are on the minds of every young woman? Alivia has addressed the recent response to her second season in several community posts, with this being one of them. I'd like to start off by apologizing to people that feel triggered by the recent episodes of the Glow Up Diaries. I should have realized this faster. I'm just getting back into YouTube and I have a lot to learn as a creator, including being more aware and mindful about trigger warnings. I'm human. I make mistakes. I have to admit, calling my Glow Up Diaries harmful hurts. Can you imagine being so vulnerable online in hopes of trying to make someone feel less alone, then getting the diagnosis from thousands of people about my problems, to see mean comments on the most vulnerable, insecure parts of myself? It makes me sad. I openly shared my difficulties despite the insistence of the media that such shameful feelings be kept in a closet to help others realize that you should not be ashamed. Let's own up to it and grow together. What I think Alivia may fail to realize here is that many commenters are in fact concerned about how she is contributing to toxicity online, and in that way the Glow Up Diaries can be deemed as harmful. But it's really only that way because of the conditions and environment in which it exists. How I think Alivia could address her part in contributing to toxic diet and fat shaming culture is to be really honest about how her online environment affected her and still affects her. I'm not saying blame someone else, but I am saying that she can take responsibility while also shining a light on how no one in the fitness diet space online can escape perpetuating fat phobia and the fat phobic mindset. It is scary for your diary to reach a global audience, and the amount of power and influence that social media has enabled to the singular person is terrifying. So Alivia, if you really want us to grow together, that means expanding your view past just protecting and nurturing your own vulnerability, which is still incredibly important, to understanding your role in the toxic fitness space, seizing it, and using your voice as someone who has experienced fat shaming and disordered eating to talk about how harmful that can be to a person, and to really explicitly encourage self-love, not necessarily connected to physical transformation, and to encourage your audience to be mindful about the language and attitudes they take when talking about weight and physical health. This could really open up the conversation about vulnerability and toxic diet culture more than you already have, because you've unlocked the door. I know that wasn't the original point of the Glow Up Diaries, and like your story has evolved to being one of self-determination, I think it could expand to acknowledge the concerns of your audience and to address how your content fits into the greater world. And that being said, that could already be in Alivia's plan. We don't know. She's released 4 episodes. She could be planning on it. I think it would be awesome if she did that. That's all I'm going to say. And I suspect that even if she goes in a different direction, she has a lot left to say to such a large audience. Wow. All right, I'm going to move away from Alivia specifically and talk about how fitness culture perpetuates fat phobia. There is an inherent monetary interest in creating popular content. And because we already live in an anti-fat society, this is one of the easiest ways to blow up on YouTube. When we look at the videos of the Chloe Ting 2-week challenge, we see hundreds of videos with hundreds of thousands of views from young women for young female audiences. And this audience doesn't actually have to be limited to millennials and Gen Z, but these younger generations tend to gravitate towards social media more, and I think are therefore more likely to find advice and answers about weight loss and about what you should look like from social media trends than Gen X or the older generations would. And in fact, here's a study that actually shows that Gen Z is more concerned about dieting and weight than any other generation. And symptoms of depression of those who were deemed as overweight were more prevalent in Gen Z girls. That's scary shit. A lot of the sources I'm talking about in this section are linked from a Tumblr blog that I will also have linked in the description because it's really great and compiles a lot of academic studies and scientific studies about weight and weight loss and fitness culture and diet culture. If you deem being fat or overweight as a problem that you need to fix, especially a problem that you need to fix to be welcomed into society, you can sell more products like Fit Tea, which we all know about. And the fitness franchise capitalizes on insecurity. It literally capitalizes on insecurity. And the best way to keep getting sales is to perpetuate insecurity. Mark Manson has this incredible article on new advertising appeals developed in the 1920s by Edward Bernays. And this is the article that Olivia mentions briefly in one of her videos. Through Freud, Bernays understood something nobody else in business ever understood before him, that if you can tap into people's insecurities, if you can needle at their deepest feelings of inadequacy, then they will buy just about any damn thing you tell them to. And so much of fitness-related content and products is marketed around weight loss. And in implying that everyone could stand to lose a little weight, these companies are perpetuating fat phobia. In our culture today, marketing often is the message. The vast majority of information that we're exposed to is some form of marketing. And so if the marketing is always trying to make you feel like shit to get you to buy something, then we're essentially existing in a culture designed to make us feel like shit and will always want to overcompensate in some way. After all, people only buy something if they believe it will solve a problem. Therefore, if you want to sell more stuff, then there are problems. You have to encourage people to believe there are problems where there are none. Women's insecurities about their bodies are in a large part brought about by advertising, which touches every part of your daily life. Because it's not just about one advertisement you saw, it's about a system of advertising that preys on insecurities and influences everyone you come into contact with. Would we live in a fatphobic society if we weren't taught that being skinny is the ultimate form of beauty? And this doesn't have to be overt. Think about every Disney princess, and then think about how fat people are represented in children's media. There are so many fat jokes in children's movies because the writers couldn't think of anything better. If you rely on a prejudice held in society to tell your jokes, you're a bad writer. And much of that advertising that we're talking about is created by men. So, fuck that. And then we also have this phenomena of the before and after picture, which Chloe Ting widely encourages. And in order to sell a lot of beauty products, you need the before and the after. Oh, somebody's face was covered in pimples before, but after they used this product, their skin is clear, which does in fact show the effectiveness of a product, but it relies on the fact that you are going to think that one of those pictures looks better. We are so influenced by visuals and the comparison of two visuals next to one another. And we've seen so many before and after pictures, and this can be really triggering for some folks, for one thing. The way that these photo comparisons are designed, you're supposed to think that the after is better, so your brain is trained to think that way. You really cannot escape before and after pictures perpetuating fat phobia. It's just they just do. They do, no matter. They do. This is a huge topic to cover, so I really couldn't talk about everything. I think that fat phobia, specifically in healthcare, is another huge issue of discrimination and of people not getting adequate healthcare because they're fat. Wow, doctors are fat phobic too. Crazy. But I wanted to shed a light on this specific case of a teenage girl influencing millions of people. She's 20 now, I do want to say. But for a lot of the series, she was a teenage girl. And that is a lot of responsibility for a teenage girl who learned things about diet and fitness online and from people in her life. And where do we all learn that from? From advertising. That's where we learn it from. I'm also going to talk about myself for a second because I feel like maybe that's a little important here. Who the fuck am I to be saying shit about this? I kind of don't think it's fair to criticize Olivia for wanting to lose weight and document it because, as I've talked about before, she doesn't exist in a vacuum. And the online community celebrates this kind of content. Teenage girls are going to be like, fuck yeah, you did this, you inspired me. Because every teenage girl is obsessed with weight loss and diet because this content is so popular. It feeds back into itself. Ugh. So I'm just some skinny bitch talking about this, but you know, it impacts me. Internalized fat phobia is real. And I also wanted to talk about the issues of Olivia's series without really digging in on her, because what is helpful in bringing someone else down? Nothing really. Like, I don't think she deserves to be canceled, but I do think that, you know, she could address some of the problems with her series and how it fits into the greater world, instead of passing it off as I'm just coming back to YouTube and it's a lot to come back to and I need to get used to it again, and instead maybe just address the concerns before they happen. That's it for this video. It's taken me like an hour to film this. Hey, we've been chilling for an hour. I don't know how long the video actually is. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I post commentary, I post vlogs, I post music, I post fashion, I post whatever I want to post. Anyway, I love you. That's what I wanted to say. I love you. I'm in love with you. And you're gorgeous. No need for a before and after, because you right now, you could get it, girly. Jesus Christ. Okay. Minors, pretend I didn't say that, please, God. My outro used to be confident and love yourself, which honestly, I stand by that. Be confident, love yourself. I will see you in the next one.